Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today I'm putting on my Senior Revenue Cycle Management Educator hat, and we're continuing our deep dive into the absolute anatomy of medical billing. For Part 2, we're handing you the ultimate investigator's toolkit to really master RCM. We're talking about decoding the ERA and getting into the absolute nuts and bolts of CAGC, CARC, and RARC codes. Let's get right to it.
So, let's kick things off with a pretty massive mystery. Why do so many denial resolutions just fail? Why do so many billers hit an absolute brick wall when trying to resolve a claim? Well, the hard truth is that a lot of folks, billers, denial analysts, even seasoned coders, they look at a finalized claim and just start guessing. They throw generic appeals at the wall, hoping anything sticks. But here's the secret. The payer is actually giving you a highly specific treasure map to the exact root cause. You just have to know how to read their language.
To read that map, we first have to set up our crime scene, and that means understanding the crucial difference between a rejection and a denial. It's a huge distinction. A rejection basically means your claim had a simple formatting or data error, like say a missing subscriber ID. Because of that, it got stopped by the clearinghouse. It literally never even entered the payer system. You just fix the typo and boom, resubmit. A denial, on the other hand, well, that's a much more complex beast. The payer actually processed the claim, reviewed it against their specific medical policies and said, nope, we are officially denying payment. Fixing a denial means we have to play detective and investigate the exact alphanumeric clues they left behind.
All right, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the ERA anatomy, then break down the CAGC buckets, look at the CARC and RARC interplay, deconstruct a real-world transaction, map out a coding denial taxonomy, and finally, take a quick peek into the AI future. Okay, starting right off with number 1, ERA anatomy.
So, what is the 835 ERA? It stands for Electronic Remittance Advice. This is the electronic transmission sent from the payer back to you, the provider, detailing the post-adjudication payment and denial data. Basically, once the payer makes their decision, they send this back. Now, here is the absolute most important takeaway. If you only read the summary of this ERA, if you're just skimming the bottom line to see if it was paid or denied, you are setting yourself up for failed appeals. To be a top-tier denial analyst, we have to decode the exact alphanumeric evidence layered deep within this transmission.
Which brings us to Section 2, the CAGC buckets.
CAG stands for Claim Adjustment Group Code, and it tells you right off the bat whose financial responsibility an adjustment is. These fall into 4 primary buckets. First up is CO, or Contractual Obligation. This is a provider write-off based on your specific contract with the payer, and listen carefully, it is strictly not billable to the patient. If you try to balance bill the patient for a CO adjustment, you're actually violating your contract. Next is PR, which is patient responsibility. This is the allowable patient liability, so things like copays, deductibles, or coinsurance. Then we've got OA for other adjustments. These are non-patient, non-payer adjustments, and PI for payer-initiated reductions. Pinning down the CAGC is literally step 1 because it immediately establishes your legal and financial boundaries.
Moving on to Step 3, let's talk about the interplay between CRC and RARC.
Enter the CARC, or the Claim Adjustment Reason Code. If we're playing detective, the CARC is our prime suspect. It gives you the primary standardized reason why a claim, or even just a specific line item, was adjusted, reduced, or denied across the whole healthcare industry. For instance, if you see a CO 97, you instantly know the service was bundled. If you spot a CO 50, okay, now you're dealing with a medical necessity issue.
But here's the thing. The RARC, that is the smoking gun. RARC stands for Remittance Advice Remark Code. While the CARC gives you the general category, the RARC gives you the ultra-specific context. It provides the granular subreasons and the exact processing instructions that qualify our primary suspect. Think of RARCs, like an M144 or an M64, as the fine print that actually tells you exactly how to solve the case.
So, the big aha moment here is that you absolutely cannot solve this case without combining both the CARC and the RARC. You need both to get the full picture. The CARC explains the what. For example, CARC 16 means claim lacks information. But what information? You don't know. That's where the RARC steps in to explain the why. RARC M64 chimes in and says, missing diagnosis. Reading either of these in isolation is just going to lead to guesswork. Like, if you only saw claim lacks information, you might just blindly fax over 50 pages of medical records. But reading them together, that guarantees a precise, actionable, root cause resolution.
All right, let's put this into practice with number 4, transaction deconstruction.
Let's look at a sample claim line straight from a real-world ERA. Imagine we build a Level 4 established office visit, CPT code 99214, for $216. But, looking at the ERA, we see an allowed adjustment of negative $216. Ouch! The code tied to it is CO16. Now we know CO is contractual obligation, so we definitely can't bill a patient for this. 16 is the CARC, telling us the claim lacks information needed for adjudication. Right below that, we spot our remark code, M64. And, as we just learned, M64 means missing, incomplete, or invalid other diagnosis.
Because we read the full architecture, all the guesswork is just completely gone. We're not going to waste our afternoon writing some lengthy, generic appeal letter. We're definitely not blindly faxing a mountain of clinical notes. Instead, the CO16 and M64 combination gives us an explicit directive. We simply go in, audit the claim, append the missing ICD-10 diagnosis code that actually supports the procedure, and resubmit it as a corrected claim. Boom. Fast, incredibly efficient, and totally precise.
Now that you know how the codes work, let's look at Section 5, our coding denial taxonomy. Let's categorize the heavy hitters, the most common general coding offenders you're going to see. CO97 means your services were bundled into another primary procedure. CO50, that tells us the service wasn't deemed medically necessary. CO4 is an alert that a modifier is either missing or inconsistent. And CO5 or 58 indicates that your procedure code just doesn't match the place of service you billed.
And of course, we also have our diagnosis and procedure-specific triggers. So CO9 flags an inconsistent age, CO10 flags an inconsistent gender, and CO11 highlights a direct mismatch between the diagnosis and the procedure. I want you to keep these in mind because these codes are actually laying the vital groundwork for parts 3 through 9 of this explainer, where we're going to dive into advanced strategies to overturn every single one of these specific scenarios.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, the AI future.
Look, AI is totally transforming the space. It's taking us from reactive denial management, where you feel like you're constantly just putting out fires and chasing your tail, to proactive revenue protection. Predictive denial analytics can actually analyze historical data to risk score claims and flag high-risk trends before you ever even hit submit. Then you've got automated claim scrubbing, which validates your entire claim against thousands of specific payer policies and NCCI edits in real time. And hey, when a denial does slip through, AI-driven triage can categorize it, prioritize it by dollar value, and route it to the exact team member who knows how to fix it. It can even draft the foundation of an AI-powered appeal letter based on what successfully worked in the past. It's wild.
The future of RCM isn't just about reading the codes faster. It's about predicting the payer's exact algorithm before the claim ever leaves your desk. So, as you master this architecture, as you become totally fluent in the language of CAGs, CARCs, and ARCs, I want you to ask yourself, how can you leverage these exact combinations to not just fix denials, but predict payer algorithms and prevent them entirely? Think on that. Keep analyzing, keep optimizing, and decode healthcare with Harshal.